Hi guys. It's kicking. Some of you will know of EOS VC and Block.one already. So EOS VC is the $1 billion venture capital arm of Block.one. We're based in Hong Kong. We have a bunch of partner funds in kind of over the US and Europe and in Hong Kong as well. So far, we've deployed around $200 million into blockchain ventures, everything from 50K tickets to 30 million across every kind of sector. And I'll get to blockchain in a minute. So these are our funds. As I say, they're everywhere, but we're here in Hong Kong. And EOS VC here internally has around $600 million to its disposal for blockchain venture. And we have all sector coverage. I mean, our mandate, really, you just have to touch the EOS ecosystem in some way. That is it. As I say, we're big believers in gaming. We're, just some of the kind of some of the main items recently. Azriz, you may have heard of. Alex is around. Recently funded along with Kleiner Perkins. Mythical Games is another one. John Linden, the CEO, will be here tomorrow. He is an ex-head of Activision. Lucid side, more on the NFT side, but also developing games out of the US. Capsule, located here in the esports segment. Monopoly Upland, who were speaking earlier today. High Fidelity, that's Philip Rosedale, who created Second Life. So already quite a lot of diverse kind of investment in the gaming sector sector already. We don't really like the term blockchain gaming. Obviously, in conferences like this, it's one thing, but kind of in the broader world, we don't really use the term. And just a quick one. So we do have, as a community, we do actually have, an NFT standard, which is being built, similar to the EOS, ERC 71. So that's just kind of a quick summary of where we are. I kind of want to talk a little about raising capital. We see so many pitches in the gaming sector. I'm going to apologize if I'm going to be blunt. These are really just my opinions. So, number one, it sucks. We know it sucks for you. It's going around and raising capital is so time-consuming, and a lot of the time we see that on the faces of people who come through the door. There are absolutely no magic formulas, whatever anyone tells you. I'm just going to give you some of the things that I look for when we're seeing companies. Like I said, this is just my own personal observations. There are plenty of kind of VCs out there who kind of speak when Mr. Miyagi-isms on Twitter and tell you how to raise capital. I'm just going to be quite blunt in my assessment, and this is just really to give some insight from our side of the table. First thing is really, when we look at blockchain, it is really just a tool. It's just a part of the stack. It's not the be-all and end-all. So it's important in the sense that it allows us to do things that we couldn't do before. But so many of the pitches we have, 70% is telling us about what blockchain is and this particular currency or what an NFT is. That's fine, but just remember, know your audience, because a lot of these guys and Johnny, who'll be speaking next, already know that. This is the other issue. A lot of the time when we see people come and pitch to us, they start with blockchain. They talk about how they lay the foundation of what blockchain is, and then they get to their idea, and then they get to their team. So they start at the bottom, and then kind of end on their team. And so 70% of our pitches I see have their team like way at the back of the deck, which is insane. Like we want to know who you are, what you've done, and why you're a good team first. That's what gets the attention. And again, I'm not speaking for everyone here, but I mean, in terms of weight of importance, it's right at the top for me is the team. Because with a bad idea, you can have a great idea, but the wrong team just isn't going to execute it. So let's start with the team, please. The second thing is, with that, we prefer, we love really game developers who are moving into blockchain, not, blockchain developers who've played games and want to build one. I'm not saying that can never happen and, these guys aren't going to succeed. It's just, making a good game is really, really hard to begin with. Having to, if you're led by a blockchain narrative, then it's a lot harder, at least for us, to kind of get our heads around it. If, however, you have a good, solid track record of creating good games, it makes it a lot easier for us. The other thing was, please know your audience. If you're pitching to a blockchain venture capital fund versus to a family office, you've got to adjust your pitch accordingly. 9 times out of 10, there is no adjustment. It's not difficult to do, but this is all about saving you time and making you more money. So know your audience and reshuffle accordingly. And again, really just to from the blockchain element, I know I put it at the small end, but really just, if you can just tell me how blockchain is really going to offer us something that was previously not possible. It could be as simple as an NFT or something more complicated like real economies, player-owned economies. If I would say, come and listen to John Linden tomorrow morning around 10:20. He's going to talk about player-owned economies, and you'll really understand this is so much bigger than just kind of NFTs and tokens and trinkets like that. Please be really careful with the amount of tokening that you do. I mean, so many projects we see create their own token. They have to have their own in-game currency. Honestly, this is kind of my least favorite side of any deck. And I'm still seeing these. I'm still seeing kind of ICOs, reserves, pre-sales, founders, this kind of public sale. No, that's gone. Again, my opinion. If people still want to go ahead in that model, that's absolutely fine. Again, this is just my absolute opinion. But my general thinking is this is just so it's just lack of transparency, and it's one of those things that I can understand the attraction of the ability to bring in, a few $1 million in some cases quite easily without any dilution of your cap table. It's a very, very attractive proposition, and we've seen that time and time again. I struggle to think of many games that have been successful in doing this, by the way. I really struggle to see any who have been successful doing this. They've made money, but I haven't seen particularly successful games with this kind of ICO pre-sale, kind of model. Because at the end of the day, you're not even attracting users of your game; you're attracting speculators. So what's the point? Make a good game. I know that sounds obvious, but again, so many people come in and they haven't, they can't really elaborate on why their game or why this space is so crowded with so much amazing talent. All right, everyone is competing for the same kind of eyeballs. It's really ruthless, and the odds are really kind of stacked against you. So you've really got to tell us how you're going to make a really good game. On the blockchain side, the history of CryptoKitties and whether Gods Unchained and what have you, CryptoKitties in particular, the crypto audience was really forgiving, right? It really was, because you've got the fans effectively, and it's speculative and it's new, but the gameplay originally, I bought a crypto caddy. It wasn't the best gaming experience I've ever had, and I've certainly haven't gone back. So we all forgive that kind of UX and all of that friction involved in the process. The mainstream won't. So you've got to tell us again and again how you're going to remove any friction from the whole process, and that's not easy. It's not. It's going to get easier. There are more tools coming, online in the next 6 to 12 months, which will make this process easier. But at the moment, I think we can all agree the friction is really one of the biggest hurdles to mainstream adoption. And that's what we want, right? We want to invest in games which are mainstream, where blockchain is just a part of the stack. It's not the be-all and end-all. As I was saying, that novelty factor is just kind of dissipated, in my opinion. There are a few isolated examples here and there of that old model, which is still working. But again, in my opinion, those days are really quite numbered. Another thing is, don't try to build everything. A lot of guys are kind of saying, well, look, we're going to build this game, and then we're going to build it on our own protocol, and then we're going to build our own marketplace as well. So they're trying to build the entire, and it's too much, and you don't have enough. Each of those requires quite a lot of different skill sets, and again, you don't need to build your own protocol really, unless you, again, if you look at the technical chops and there's a real reason behind it. Focus on the game. The market will come. Just focus on the game. That would be, again, that's just my observation. One of the things I want to talk about is, going forward, you think about the mobile sector in particular. When you don't download a game, those 3 minutes when you first open the game, right? There's a very kind of elaborate sequencing, and there's a huge amount of psychology and everything goes into that. One of the ways, just to easily add value is to, this is just a shower thought, as it were, which is, if you can give some tangible value straight off the bat, so you can say, this NFT, it unlocks at level 5, and this is the current US dollar price it trades in the secondary market, but you need to get to level 5 or whatever. That is, to me, is something that's really quite interesting. Like if you're onboarding and you are, suddenly getting something of tangible value, that can really extend kind of the lifetime, the retention, the amount of, just all your metrics. That's kind of just a simple example of just how you can kind of shoehorn what blockchain offers into your game. One of the things one of the best pieces of leverage that I say to most, especially the kind of the younger guys who come pitch, is it's well worth spending a day of your time doing nothing but focusing on how to sell, how to craft a sales pitch, because it's the difference between knowing how to do that and not is really the difference between whether you raise money or not, whether you raise 1 mil or 1.5, or whether it's 0 or 1. Not that many people seem to pay that much attention to really art of actually a sale, a pitch, right? You know, it's the people who do it really well. You know, we on our side of the table, we're excited. We're leading out. Like it's really engaging. The people who don't, it's harder. It's just it's just a roadblock. And I know it sounds really, really obvious, but it could be worth. It can be the difference between failure and success is just purely learning how to structure a sales narrative, a pitch. That initial one. Back in a former life, I was actually a stand-up comedian, and I actually won the Hong Kong stand-up festival in 2011. The point of that was that one of my mentors said, you have 60 seconds to win the audience. Like that was it. You have 60 seconds. If you fail after that 60 seconds, the rest of your set is going to be a disaster. It's not at that extreme, obviously, but I can tell you, I would say 80% of the time, within 10 minutes, we know whether or not we're going to be having another meeting or not. 10 minutes. And I would say probably 80% of the time, we know that. So, focus on that first 10 minutes. I know I haven't really gone into the blockchain side that much because I think everyone here already knows it, and I probably end up repeating what everyone else has said. But really, just please focus on that first 10 minutes, and I think there's a much, much better chance for you. And thank you. And any questions? Yeah. Oh, this one. Oh, sorry. For me, I want to be in a world where I can play a game, and that game it's just like being in a real life economy, where transactions are instant and where value is exchanged instantly. And when I say bigger than, where you can actually be an entrepreneur inside a game and make money. That's kind of one of the, where I hope things will go. That's just one side of it. Like the NFT side, the collectible side, that's kind of very, it's pretty obvious. It's kind of value transfer within a game as a real proper economy. That to me, I think is really, really exciting because it opens up, when there's an economic interest for you to play a game, that's like completely groundbreaking. And not in a way where kind of the old day which you kind of mine swords and then sell them on eBay or whatever. I'm talking about real-time ability to actually make money and play a game. That's going to be possible. That to me in the future is interesting. And, I would again say, see what Mythical are doing and see what John tomorrow. And, it's really, really exciting. That would be what I say.
Hi, I'm Alexander from Axie Infinity.
Yeah, hi.
So I noticed in your last slide, I came in a little bit late, so maybe you answered this earlier, but you said give value and give someone an asset that's valued at XYZ dollars. So if you come in as an indie developer and you say that this is a price point where we're going to buy it back, I assume that that's how you create, or you need to create demand for that specific asset.
Yes.
So if you keep issuing assets all the time and keep saying that, you're going to gain an asset and it's going to be worth something, where does that demand come from?
Because you need to be able to create demand through levels 1 to 5.
Yeah, so okay, exactly.
That's why it's unlocked at level 5. Again, this was just a part of an idea of how you could onboard through that 3 minutes and say, wow, okay, I can actually work towards some kind of value. That's all. It's not, I'm not saying that.
Yeah, I understand, but
I'm not. I know what you mean. Like, we just keep printing and printing and printing.
From an economic perspective, it seems very hard to actually create value out of nothing unless you have some sort of demand, and that has to come from a lot of players to get onboarded. So it's a very complex kind of thing, and the answer to the solution you have seemed very I don't know, not very thought out. So that's why I was wondering exactly how do you see that happening from an indie game perspective? Like if you make that, you need.
So it's not something you start with. It's something you can end with. It depends on how your game economics works out, right? That's all. It's not I'm not saying that, hey, you are issued something that's free now. You actually need to play through that game. Going through those levels, if you know that you can create X, Y, Z per player out of that 1 through 5, then your cost kind of that can be well exceeded by the amount that you issue per player.
Yeah, so
it's an equation.
Yeah, so the way I see it is value created by the network participant, because that's actually what they are. They participate in the network and create value, and then an asset is being created to reward them, right? And that kind of is
after a certain amount of time.
Exactly,
That was just as you say, it wasn't that thought. I mean, I said it was a shower thought. Like it was not a,
Sorry to be a bit critical. I came in late, so I just wanted to kind of ask what the background was there. But thank you.
You're welcome.
And we have time for one more question. You have.
Based on your past investment overseas companies, why do you invest in what
I mean, to be honest, it's a combination of multiple different things. For Paral, say Mythical, I mean, those guys were, I guess the big attraction for them is, they're a team of AAA game developers. They've got 4 ex-studio heads in their team now. I mean, that's kind of a cream of the crop kind of guys. And they had a fantastic idea. But for them, it was really more, I would say, just the pedigree of the team was it was the real driver. Something like Upland, just a great idea. It's that kind of virtual property market. Just looks like fun, and the guys made a very compelling. Sometimes it's about hey, that's a game I'd like to play. So they all vary quite wildly. But yeah, I mean, it's always team and ID, a combination of those two, and it's just the dial switches between the two. Are we good?
Thank you.
Okay, thanks very much.